Is, did Trump's budget cuts to the NWS impact the community response to the floods in Kerrville specifically?
If you are looking for a specific connection to those cuts, the answer would be no at the moment. If you're looking for an indirect impact to that, there's a possibility because some of those cuts were to the input to the models that we all use for all forecasts. So if you cut the input to those models, then you are affecting everything, not only just that flood.
So what did the official forecasts actually say? Were they ignored or misunderstood by the public and local officials?
The official forecast that night was for 5 to 7 inches of rain. But you have to remember, and a lot of people don't understand, that when you issue a forecast, it is a snapshot in time. And that 5 minutes later, things could change. 60 seconds later, things could change. So just because the initial forecast was for 5 to 7 inches of rain doesn't mean it was wrong. It just means that that's what the snapshot at that point in time looked like. So as the situation evolved, then we saw some heavier rain develop and things just changed up rather quickly. Combination of forces there in the atmosphere are what changed that up.
Okay. So did the weather models actually provide enough warning to prevent these widespread casualties, or were the flood conditions truly just unpredictable?
Well, there's no way that you can predict specifically how much rain is going to fall. And if you put it into a formulaic question of that, did it do something to prevent warnings? You can't do that. We don't have tools to do that. We have tools to tell you that the atmosphere is definitely getting to that way. That's why that flash flood watch was issued the night before. And people to this day still don't understand the difference between a watch and a warning. When you issue that watch, that tells you that all the ingredients are there for something to happen. It just hasn't happened yet. And that doesn't mean it won't, but it also doesn't mean it will. So you have to be on watch for that time period. So that forecast really was early. There was enough advanced kind of, I wouldn't say warning, but advanced notice that something was going to happen that night. And given that location where it's at, that's flash flood alley. That's flash flood capital of the world. If you issue a watch in that area, I mean, ears should have perked up. Red lights should have started blinking right away because that place has a history of major floods like that.
Okay, so now you talked about the difference between watch and warning.
Yeah.
So for the people that are in that flood alley, when you sent out that, I guess first watch, right? So you're watching out.
Yeah, first to watch. It was very early in the day that the watch went out.
So I guess for the people that don't know, what do we look out for when there is a watch versus a warning?
Well, it depends on the type of watch. In this particular type of watch, it was a flood watch, which means that you are going to be looking out for anything that is involved in your area that usually is impacted by a flood. In this case, it's rivers. So they should have started paying attention right away to what the rivers are doing and what the rivers could potentially do. Starting thinking back, okay, what has happened in the past? What has been the impact zone? Am I in that impact zone? And should I take action? Those are the big important things that should have been really rolling through that evening through all the people's minds.
Okay. So do you recall the last time something of this magnitude has happened, I suppose, in this area?
Yes, this magnitude back in 1987. I was in this market. I wasn't working for this company, but I was in the market and I was the assignment editor for another place. And yes, I saw it all happen. It happened before. There was an even bigger one in 1932. This one eclipsed the 1932 flood. So yes, this place has a long, long history of flash flooding. And it's due to a combination of factors: terrain, slope of the terrain, and the fact that these rivers will move rather quickly once they're in flood.
Right. So with these past disaster responses, I don't know if you can give much on this, but do you know if like it's influenced any current protocol?
Well, that's an interesting question. Clearly, it did not. After the 87 flood, in which 2 busloads of children were swept downstream, very much like this, being picked up by helicopters, very much like this one, there was a call to do something. Here we are, 2025. Nothing's been done. That's about
Right.
all I'll say on that.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So do you think, I mean, obviously our infrastructure isn't ready now, but if we
Yeah.
expect more of these driven disasters, what should we expect to prevent something like this from happening again in your professional
Well, there are a
opinion?
lot of things that can be done to work to prevent it, because we can't totally prevent things. Because once you issue a warning, there's a big gap there, because once you issue the warning, it's up to the people to react. It's up to the people to do something about it. In many cases, not only for hurricanes, but for tornadoes, floods, all kinds of other warnings, people don't react right away. And in a flash flood, if you do not react right away, you may not have time to do anything, because that's not what you do in a flash flood. You react right away. For prevention, or to things that we need to do, we need to put more gauges on that river. That river is huge, hundreds of miles of river, and there's very few river gauges there. And the river gauges that were there, some of them were compromised because they got hit by debris, went underwater. And so it's really difficult to warn when you don't have any information coming in, when you don't know what the river's doing. So it's difficult not only for the emergency managers, but for flood managers, for meteorologists to know what's happening if that data is not there. So we need more river gauges. We also need more education to people to understand that perhaps these places contain a risk that we shouldn't be there, or maybe we should move to a different location. There are a lot of things like that. We need more education about what to do when a warning is issued or when a watch is issued. So that's a combination of adding infrastructure, whether it be gauges, sirens, better cell structure, better cell reception, and education about what to do and how to react.
Any of the budget cuts that Trump played with the NWS, did it factor into any of that you just mentioned, the infrastructure, the gauges, the sirens? Do you know if they, I guess, cut that?
That problem has been ongoing since 1987.
Wow.
So it's not a factor of who was the president or who is the president. It's a factor of local government and state government. And clearly, somebody has not stepped up to take care of that. It's not the federal government, it's the state.
Right. So in your professional opinion, what would you, what would you tell the public to do regarding that with their local governments?
I would get a hold of all your representatives and tell them what you want done, whether it be adding sirens, whether it be adding gauges, whether it be adding more funds to get more people in the emergency management crews, more meteorologists in the Weather Service office. Whatever you want to have done, contact your representative.
I guess one last question I have is, would you describe what the National Weather Service just plainly does for the public?
Oh my gosh, they do so much. We don't fully understand what they do, but we see just the forward part of that little forecast that comes out every day and the 7-day forecast. But there are big, huge components of the Weather Service that do research, that do model development, that do all kinds of other things. I run a podcast and I talk to researchers in the Weather Service and in NOAA almost every week. And this week there are some new things that they're willing or wanting to try but are unsure if they're able to at this point. But we're trying to get some advances going, and the Weather Service is much more than just that little daily forecast that you're going to get. It's computer models, it's research in the upper atmosphere, it's understanding how El Nino and La Nina impact us, it's understanding how drought works and how to forecast it, how to measure things that happen out in the ocean and how they impact how much rain we get into the atmosphere. So that it goes beyond the forecast.